Hey, Coach Raphael Haynes with the three-point conversion. Coach, you all were consistent tonight with scoring, defense. What would you say was the most impressive thing or facet of the game to you?
Um, well, I like mostly that we kept our composure after a slow start. We didn't shoot the ball well. We got down early on the road, and we kept our composure, kept competing, found a way to make it close in the first quarter. They had that 4-point play at the end of the first quarter. Otherwise, it was a 3-point game. So that was good. I thought defensively, we were really solid for the most part of the game. You know, First quarter they got off to a hot start. We limited their 3-point shooting. Obviously, they missed some, but I thought our defense had something to do with it as well.
Aaron Fentress with the Oregonian.
Coach Nurkic struggled shooting from the field, but his impact seemed to be immeasurable, especially on defense and rebounding. Can you talk a little bit about his performance, especially going up against someone like Rudy Gobert?
Well, I've said this many times. Obviously, Nurk and Dame are good in pick and roll, and he helps us at the offensive end. But it's pretty obvious the impact he's had with us defensively since he's come back. Our defense has gotten much improved. Kind of coincided with Norman as well, but he had a rough time finishing around the basket against a very good defensive center. But what he provided defensively was one of the reasons why we won the game.
And regardless of the fact that Mitchell and Conley were out, you guys on defense looked like you'd have smothered just about anybody. Did you feel that was one of your 5-10 best defensive performances of the year, maybe top 3?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go through the schedule. Believe it or not, we've had some good games. But they are a different team without Mitchell and Conley. But I was pleased to get a win on the road against the best team in the West, regardless of who was on the court.
Thanks.
Jason Quick with The Athletic.
Coach, I think one of your strengths over the years has been that you've never allowed yourself to get too low during the struggles and all that. But during this last month or so, kind of what kept you going? What kept you having belief in this team?
It's what coaches do. It's not about me. It's you keep coaching the team. I didn't think we were that far away. I'm a big believer in confidence, and you have to instill confidence in your team. You got to keep the faith, and to me, that's part of your job as a coach.
In what ways did you try to instill confidence in your team?
I don't have anything specific.
Yeah.
Dwight Janes, NBC Sports Northwest.
Jerry, obviously those guys are making threes at a record pace, just about like you guys are. But I'm curious, you talked about limiting their threes. How do you go about doing that with a team like this that's making 17 threes a night against everybody?
Well, I will say this. They've still been shooting threes with Conley and Mitchell out. I think they're still averaging about 40 attempts. You just got to make them work and maybe get them out of their comfort level a little bit. Make them shoot them off the dribble sometimes. Put doubt in their mind on a closeout. It's just, I don't think it's one thing, but they're going to make them. They're going to shoot them and they're going to make them. But you have to do your best. And, obviously we've had games. Honestly, we've had some games where in Boston comes to mind where they shot the three really well. And I thought we contested them really well and they still made them. So, in this league, you got some great players who can make some shots, and you gotta work every possession and know that you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Against them, though, it's a pretty critical area for you defensively, I assume, is to somehow,
it is.
Right?
Yeah, it is. And one of the topics that we talked about early was they get a lot of their threes in transition. They shoot quick shots in transition. And I thought for the most part, they didn't get a lot of those. And I don't, transition points, if you look at fast break points, they only had 2, 1 for 6. And you consider that they generally get a lot of threes in transition. So that was a big part tonight.
AJ McCord with Coin.
Obviously, the standings, the positioning for that play-in tournament is as heightened as it has been all season. How do you make sure that your team stays focused on just controlling the controllables, making sure, you know, you guys take care of business and not focusing on the scoreboard watching as much these last few days?
That's what we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 weeks. You know, for the last 10 games, we just worried about the next game. And, you know, obviously we're aware of where we are and where everybody else is. You need to be aware of that. But, you know, you can't get ahead of yourself. And so now we move on to Phoenix and see what happens there. And then we move on to Denver. So at this stage of the season, I think it's pretty easy just with the urgency of what we're doing and what we're trying to do. I don't think it's very difficult.
Going back to Jason Quick with The Athletic.
Coach, were you aware that Nurk has that kind of arm, and do you guys work on that inbounds pass at the end of the second or end of the first quarter, second quarter?
No and no.
Did you feel like that kind of gave you guys a boost going into halftime though?
It did, because the basket they scored was pretty deflating. You know, they missed a couple shots. They got off for rebound, got another one, and they put it in. So yeah, that we could have been going into the locker room on a play that was very deflating. Instead, we went in on a high with a 3-point lead.
And last questions coming from Christos Saltis with Sport DNA.
Hello, Coach. Congratulations on the win. How
Thank
many
you.
steps in the right direction you feel that you made in the last 10 game stretch in the season? And what did you like most about your defensive approach tonight?
Well, in the last 10 games, I'd say we made 9 steps in the right direction. You know, the road trip was solid, and fortunately, we were able to get some double-digit wins, so that we didn't have to play some heavy minutes. I think there's no question defensively we've, as I mentioned earlier, that we've continued to improve, and we just got to finish the season off.